Welcome to the podcast.
No, this is such a delight. I am a huge fan. In fact, we listen to some of your podcasts as a team.
Oh.
So kind of listening up, going, oh, that's a really good one. How do you flip your store? How do you get social media buy-in? How do you buy with purpose? We need to do that better.
Oh, I love that.
That's really good. So anyway.
We met, a little background is we met at the Lawn and Garden Show in Chicago just a couple months ago. And you were one of my favorite people to meet. You were always like, when I've spoken a few times, but what I've realized is that I want the lights up and I want to look at people in the eyes. And like, you were one of the people I kept looking at because you were always just so engaged. Like, you could tell you were actually listening, and it was so nice. So when we got off and I started talking to you, you have the best personality. And I'm like, okay, we have to have you on the podcast. And you're a podcaster yourself. So
yeah.
No wonder.
The top 10 gardener, tune in, follow. I'm following you. So been doing that for a lot of years.
Your radio show.
Yeah, I have an hour-long radio show called The Mountain Gardener. It broadcasts throughout northern Arizona. So we're in Prescott, Arizona. It's kind of in between Flagstaff and Phoenix, more closer to Sedona than anywhere else. Right. Up in the mountains, high altitude. So it's a mile high, more like a Denver climate than anything else. But it's a small marketplace. And so we are taking on the big boxes. Basically, the boxes have thinned everyone out except for us. And the way we do it is we're just the experts. And so if you really want to do it right, come talk to us, and we'll make sure you don't make a mistake, because gardening in Arizona is different than other parts of the country. And we always seem to rate as the top 10 places to retire. Arizona is a top place to retire, but Prescott, because of its mild 4 seasons, Chicago comes down. I mean, they're coming from California, of course.
Yeah.
And so they're coming from everywhere. Well, you don't garden like you do there.
Yeah.
Because you'll struggle. But hey, my name's Ken. I'm your friend. I can help you do it better. So we do a radio show, a weekly newsletter, garden columns, magazines, all that kind of stuff. We have thrived in that niche in our marketplace.
I'm going to make sure we'll have all these links in our show notes. Before we go down the rabbit hole, do introduce yourself and tell us a little bit of background on you.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Ken Lain. Hi. I'm the owner of Waters Garden Center. My wife and I run it together. I'm the second generation owner. And so if you wonder how Ken Lain came to own Waters Garden Center, well, Harold Waters was the original founder, and he had 4 very pretty daughters. And I took a liking to the youngest, prettiest one. So I married Lisa, my wife, and did corporate stuff. After a while, we graduated from ASU, business management. She was a teacher, and did that corporate moving around the country, and just went, gosh, I miss my small town. I want to get back home to cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents for our kids. And so we came back into the family business. I was in banking before this. I was a director of marketing for Equifax. That's a big credit reporting company. And that's corporate. It's just corporate stuff. A small family business is much more human. There's a soul, there's a connection, your thumbprint. So there is no thumbprint on a big company. And so we came into the business, and actually I worked out the deal. We were home for the holidays, and Harold and I were chopping a cord of wood, just go doing man stuff. And we worked out this deal on how to get us back home and kind of be an understudy, learn the business. Plants are a little bit different. So garden centers, we do plants, petunias, trees, shrubs, roses, all the things that grow out in the landscape. And what makes them grow, the soil, the fertilizer, the bug killers. We do all of that. So it's really specialized field. But it's, the introductory drugs to gardening, houseplants, and tomatoes. And so we do those really well, because if you get them started in a college dorm with a houseplant, it just grows from there, because it's a living, breathing thing. It's not puppy dogs, but it's sort of like that. If you don't care for it, it dies. So it makes you feel good when you're gardening. And so we came back, and now our daughter is now training. So she just graduated. She actually graduated with her therapist degree from Fuller Seminary back during COVID. And she was doing her therapy hours, and she went, "Whoa, Dad, because people are really messed up. I don't know if I could do this for a living. They're like sucking the life out of me. I kind of want, can I come into the business?" And so she has just thrived as a retailer. And it's all those therapist things that you do in retail. Retail is therapy.
Yes.
And then plants and retail is real therapy. And so it really makes you feel connected. So we've been in business for 62 years, 3 generations. My wife works here, I work here, and my daughter works here. Sometimes you'll see our dogs. It's on 2 acres, got maybe 2.5 if you include some processing yards. 52 parking spaces, big greenhouses, lots of shade cover, that kind of things you would think of as a garden center. Only it's bigger. We're like a botanical garden, only you can take a piece home with you and go plant it afterwards. It's that kind of thing. We've been into a lot of different avenues. So we used to be landscapers, growers, used to have pet shops and feed stores, all those things that kind of tie into garden centers. But when I came in, I don't like landscaping. I don't like growing. I don't like pets. And I don't like feed stores. I like garden centers, retail. And we got to a stage where we could focus just on the parts that we like. And we love promoting plants and connecting plants and people and making that whole thing happen. And when it's done well, they remember you for years to come because that tree only gets bigger and better and grows more over the decades. So you're almost sad when you leave your house. Yeah, that tree is still growing. The next homeowners, they killed that tree. Can you believe it? I want another one for my.
Yeah, I've got
kind of
mom
emotional connection.
Yeah,
very much.
It's funny you said that because I never really thought about that you plant the tree yourself and you watched it grow. For my mom, like when we sold our house in Manhattan Beach that we grew up in, that's the second house, but the house basically we spent our whole childhood in. And I was at a party, she had sold the house, and I was at a party at our neighbors, and they had said, they were introducing us to people, and this man said, I said, "Oh yeah, my mom, just sold her house, Manhattan Beach, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh, we just bought our house." And he's like, "This crazy lady came over like after the house was sold and like dug up all these plants." And I'm like, "Wow, where was that?" And he gives me the address of my mother's house.
Oh, you're kidding me.
My mom. And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "That's my mom." And he's like, "Yeah, she came over it wasn't night yet." He's like, "But it was like dusk." And come to find out, my mom, the reason why, these were bulbs my grandfather, clematis, is that what they're?
Clematis, yep.
So she had taken his bulbs. He had passed away years before. She had taken his bulbs and planted them in the property in Manhattan Beach. She was going back for his bulbs. And
that's good for her.
Said that it didn't dawn on me that it's very much, and it's true when people kill things, man, same thing. Her house she sold in Laguna Beach. She talks about the neighbors, how they killed the yard. They pulled this out. I'm like, "Oh my God, Mom, let it go. You sold the house." But
never go back.
she does too. It's like, "Look, driving by, like, stop."
Yeah.
When we had first spoken at the, First, I want to go back to, you did change some things from your father-in-law's way he did it before. How was that met? Because I've talked to several people that have their second generation or third generation, and the generation, much like they killed my tree, the generation that has sold it and given up, like, here's my baby. When the new generation starts making changes, a lot of times it's not met with the most like, yay. Like, how were your changes met?
Yeah. Well, the founders are a unique breed too. So Harold started the thing. I mean, the story, he was a good storyteller too. All we had was a station wagon and a shovel, and I borrowed a wheelbarrow. I started our landscaping company. So he started this thing from scratch. It was his personality. So the next generations don't have that same richness or depth or passion for it. I mean, I have a passion for it, but it's different for a founder. And so they take more personally everything that you do. And so he would come in, literally, I had to, of course, they're helping you finance it too. So, you take a debt bank loan, all those things you do to pass on it. We're not a small business. We're not a really big one. We're in this awkward spot where it's bigger than a quick fast food chain you can just sell off real quick, but it's not big enough to get New York money to, venture capital stuff to come in and buy it. So you to have another generation buy it is ideal. And so he financed part of it. Well, I had to give him financials, and every month he would come in and scrutinize them, and he'd come give me advice on how to do this better, young man, kind of thing. Here, I'm like 40, been doing it already for like 12 years. So, but he by the time he got done, he was super proud of what we'd done, because we took his business and kept it growing. And the way we did it was we specialized. I'm a strong believer that you cannot specialize enough. So many times businesses they forget where they came from. And so we're a garden center. We're very much like a fruit stand. So this is perishable stuff. It looks good as soon as it's off the truck, and it only deteriorates from there. Freshness is everything. Yeah. You've got more material coming in right after that. And so you want inspiration. People, they aren't quite sure what they want when they come in. They're inspired by Instagram or a magazine or whatever source of news they're getting. Go, wow, I want to do that. They come in, they might ask for that thing, but it doesn't grow here. Let me show you something that's very similar. So all of our end caps are very inspirational. It's a typical, racetrack. You come in on the right, you do your loop through all the greenhouses, you come back out, you check out, and you leave. It's that. But every touch point is, and every vista is, oh, that's interesting. Oh, so we're leading you on with more and more inspirational plants, every end cap. And so we grew it just by focus on the end caps and get rid of all the stuff. We really watch our turns. We're really big into GMROI, gross margin return on investment, things that are high velocity turning, because you can keep those things fresher because they just turn so fast. Yeah. And so we really used our POS data to really hone in on what's really going well. And then what's not going well, we're merciless. We just cut them. Don't let them be around. Don't let them gather dust. Get cash, do anything, and put it back into the things that are turning. We go so far as to do that to our vendors too. We have a vendor list. We are merciless. If you're just selling us stuff, you don't help us turn it, you are out of here. So we'll cut you right out. Look, just because you're not helping us make money. Those that are helping us make money, we give them more space. So we're too small a space. We're 2 acres. It seems like a lot, but the volume that we do is not large enough. So we need to really give up things that aren't really performing to give space to those things that are.
Okay, I have to interrupt you because so much of what you just said is like turn it loose, sell it. That is one thing retailers, especially like a lot of the obviously retailers that are listening to this are gift and apparel and whatnot, but the philosophy of get rid of it if it doesn't sell, and the ones that do sell, give it more space. There are people that hang on to things I will move things around 3 times in a store before I'm like, all right, like it's time to cut ties. But there are people that were literally like, believe in their soul. It's going to sell at some point just so they can get that full markup. It's like, then please explain to them why they need to, because it is, whether you're a garden shop, a gift shop, or apparel shop, the same philosophy applies.
Well, as product ages, it actually loses value. It doesn't gain value. It loses. It gets dusty. You got to clean it. You got to touch it. You got to move it around 3 times or 5 times or 10 times, or you don't move it around at all. It just looks old over there. So we've got places in our nursery, 2 acres. So we've got a lot of places. We call them cobwebs. It's where they gather dead things. They seem to pile up in corners, and it becomes uglier and uglier and uglier. We got to clear this thing out. And so we don't want those corners there's some places that are hot spots. They just turn product. There's some places that are cold spots that just don't. Mm-hmm. We don't want the brooms and the broken inventory and things to gather over there. So we're trying to focus on just give the space that's good. What really helps you is we're a garden center. We sell kind of 80% of our entire year in about 12 weekends. So it's April, May, and June. We call it Mount Everest. You want to make Mount Everest as big as you can, because when it's over, it's over. There's no getting more. When the tomatoes are in the garden, there aren't any more tomatoes that will fit. When the flowers, the hanging baskets are on the front patio, you can only have so many. And you buy them once in the spring and then you're done. There's a few hardcore gardeners that might change them out. Like we're going into fall right now, so pumpkins and mums and all that kind of stuff. There's a few folks that will do that, but not everyone. Everyone gardens in spring. So when you've got only this real limited window, and then you've got a very long dead spot, you're really motivated to not hang on to this stuff, because winter's hard on plants. It'll kill them. Yeah. So you want to really get them out of there. So anyway, I had a consultant tell me product loses like 10% value every year as it goes down. If you hold on to it, or was it a quarter? It was a substantial amount.
Thank you.
And we were thinking we were plants and they were growing and getting more valuable. They're going down. Well,
I mean, it's like, at least for gift, and apparel is so seasonal. Gift is a little different, but for gift, it's like, you had nailed it on the head, the cleaning and the moving it around. The labor that it costs to bring me in to move that same crap around that you don't want to put on sale is actually costing you more. And a lot of times what happens, and I'm sure this is the same in your industry, is that I say this a lot for people for wholesale lines that don't want to edit, where it's like, you have too much on the line, we need to edit something. Or for retailers that have too much and the new stuff keeps coming in, and because they don't want to let go of the old stuff, your old stuff is choking out your new stuff. Like having the old stuff there, you do not give the placement and you don't give it the value that the new stuff deserves to be shining bright and beautiful and have enough room, because all the old stuff is still there and your customers do remember it.
They do. Yeah. Yeah. I do think that they remember the old stuff. They're always looking for fresh, new. Again, we're basically produce. We're a specialty store too. We just specialize in plants. And I mean, when you see a mum as big around as you can't put your hands around, that's pretty specialized. So it's just going into a house, a patio or a deck or something. So it's still specialized. You really need to have those new products coming in. What's really going on now, though, what we're struggling with is the average wage has gone up so extreme. The beautiful thing is all of my new employees coming in, they're college educated, they're super smart, they got stuff going on. They don't want to work in a medical tech office anymore. They want to work outdoors and fresh air. The quality is over the top. The problem is you got to pay those folks double what you were just a few years ago. And now all of a sudden you can't afford to have those people watering plants. You can't afford to have them flipping the store, moving things around 3 times. You can't afford to have them. You need to have it set, pre-priced, land it, unload it, put it out of the store and watch it go out the door. So you need to have faster turns because you cannot afford to have as many bodies around to help sell and take care of this product. So our stuff is not porcelain or glass. It's living. So you got to water it every day, sometimes twice a day. So we're putting a lot of energy into forklifts, more equipment, not just manual pallet jacks, automated pallet jacks, loading docks to get things on and off faster. The vendors are now having to tag every plant with a price and a barcode so we can pre-program that into the POS, because I don't want it to sit on the dock for 2 days while we price out this load of trees.
That's very
pre-done.
That's smart.
Those help. And so I need smaller loads so I can reload more frequently. So my tree rack doesn't have 1,000 trees. I've only got 300 of the ones that are blooming right now. I'll sell all those and have 300 more come in after that. I need more frequent turns, more frequent deliveries, which is really difficult if you're in the plant business and all your plants are coming from Portland, Oregon. That's a long ways away to get to Arizona. Just logistical stuff. But they're coming around.
Well, you had also said something else also that you rely heavily on your POS reports, which is one thing that for the gift industry, there's a lot of people who do not go by the reports. They don't have an open to buy budget. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys strategize and how often do you go through reports? Is it a full meeting? Like, how does it look on your end?
So we check our open to buy every week. So we've got it pre-planned. We have a 52-week plan. We call it a grow plan. So there's some plants that look good in week 8, the end of February and March, and there's some that are just twigs until week, into May. And so we want the beautiful stuff here, and then we want the ugly stuff out. And so when you're trying to bring in tomatoes, you have to grow those. How many tomatoes are you going to sell next year? Which means how many do you need to plug and start growing 3 months ahead of time? You need to make that decision way ahead. And then whatever you commit to, it's all you get. There aren't any more. So you got to nail it pretty close. So the computers really help you with that. We're coming into poinsettia season. So the holidays, that whole Christmas cactus, amaryllis. On December 26th, a poinsettia is worth nothing. So you don't want extras. So you want to nail that right on the money, the exact number. And so we're monitoring that every day, or not every week, to make sure how many do we sell, how much did that open for us to be able to replenish with, and then we'll have that many come in the next week. We're just always replenishing until that crop disappears. And then we'll probably be down to zero. That week prior to Christmas, we'll go, hey, buy one, get one free. Just buy 3 for the price of 2. Yeah. Whatever that gimmick is that you do, just so we don't have any left. So any amount of money right before Christmas for a Christmas plant is better than the dumpster. It's kind of how we're doing it. So we look at it often as a team by department. So a garden center's I've got several companies or businesses under the umbrella of Waters Garden Center. There's a tree business. There's a perennial business, those plant flowers that come back after, a shrub business, an annual and herb and veggie business. These are really glitzy, petunias and geraniums. Then we have a hard goods business, which is all the soils, the fertilizers, the bug killers, weed killers. And each one does a lot of money, and they're all individually tracked by department, open to buys with not just open to buy, but how much do you need to start each month? Where do you want to be at the end of the month? And how much do you need to fill in to keep it at that level? So pretty sophisticated. Again, because we're such a short season, you only get one shot. If you make a mistake by a weekend, it can affect the entire year. Just one weekend can affect the entire year.
What do you do so when, your busy season's done, what is driving the business for the rest of those months?
Oh, we'll still be open. We're 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
We'll make money through October, something like that, but it's not a lot. It's just basically breaking even. In November, December, January, it's pretty rough. We paint, we polish, we build new fixtures, we put new flooring, lighting, might put a new structure up, and we're getting ready for March 1 when it takes off and just starts ramping and goes at that point. So there's a lot of, and I want to keep my core staff. They're talented. I'm not going to lay them off. So I got to find something for them to do. And we have a few customers, but it's not enough to get past that, a mortgage payment on a place this big.
I can imagine.
Pretty large. So it's hard to cover that.
Well, just the payroll, the fact that you don't lay anyone off, do their hours go, do you drop their hours a little bit?
I'll drop a little bit. Yeah, the great thing about garden centers is I got this whole retired section of folks. They retired, moved here, and they're bored to death. They just want something. They don't need the money. They just want a social interaction, and they show up on time. They love being here. They love connecting with people. They just don't want to work 40 hours a week, and they don't want to work in the winter when it's cold. I just want to be here when the best stuff's here, the most energy's here, and then I want to be off and go visit grandkids, whatever. You can't run a store with those folks. You can't put any pressure on them. It has to always be fun. You just got to make sure it's good for them. But if you get the right position for them, they're like gold. So those folks will be laid off. I've got my high school, college kids, those kind of folks. You can lay those folks off, and then you're left with your core. So I've got about 30 employees during the peak. I have about 12 that will kind of, no matter what, we're going to keep you, we'll find stuff to do. And we might cut back hours. We might go to 4 days instead of 5 days, tweak it a little bit. We're all in this together. So it seems to work out. That retired, those folks that are just bored. Actually, my assistant, my virtual assistant, put on Facebook and said, "Are you retired and bored? Hey, I've got a job for you. Work from home." And he works like 2 blocks away from me at my house. He's a local in town. He doesn't come into work, but he's got a home office. He was a retired computer salesman, like software guy. So he helps me with all my Facebook posts, email newsletters, all that content creation, just make not the creation, but delivery of it on time. Because I'm a good creative guy. Details I'm terrible with.
I think all of us who are creative said the same thing. I think that the retired group of people and being employees, I think a lot of people overlook that. And I think that in the world right now where everyone's like, I can't find an employee, no one shows up. I have to wonder, if they are either people that are retired that are coming in and out and looking for work or whatever, if they're being turned away right away because they're, quote, too old, or if they're not being creative with where they're looking for help, because it is such an underutilized, I forget the author that wrote the book about mentoring and about he was a hotelier that retired, sold his businesses, and the guys from Airbnb, when they first started, brought him on as a consultant. And he had said, I'm much, much older than these kids, basically, but they knew the experience they were getting from him was, you just don't get that out of college. And they really leaned into him. And he really also in the same breath leaned into them and learning their new things in social media and whatnot. So I have to wonder if for people listening, if that's an underutilized resource that no one's really thinking about that, yes. And you do have to keep it fun. And it is it's more of a kid glove type of employee, but God, what a great, because they all just love being out and to be social.
Best lieutenants you'll ever find, because they've been in your spot and they don't want that, but they feel your pressure. They understand what you're going through, and you can communicate with them. They just go, "Gotcha. Hey, I'll make sure that happens for you." So they do it with joy, that just because it's a fun part. The ones that get the bad rap are the Gen Zs, 30 somethings, which we've got 5 Gen Zs, and they are the best, most energetic staff you can ever have there. They got the energy, the youthfulness, the creativity. They got it all going on. What they need is leadership. They need inspiration. And your retired folks, they are inspired. They're just, let's face it, when they get off work, they're going to go golf with their buddies or pet the dogs or go for a long hike or play with the grandkids. They're already in there. The Gen Zs, I think what they need is a company that's not corporate. They don't want corporate.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, they don't want to work on their own. They want a place where they can call home. They want to make friends, and they want to work for purpose. A garden center, we're here for you. And so so my daughter's she's 30, and she needs a core of people around her that are like that, so that they can ride out their career with her. So you don't need folks my age backing her up. You need folks and actually ride it out, and so she gets less turnover. So we've got 4 really key folks to work with her, and they're all in that 30 somethings. And we've taken them to show. You met one, I won't call her out, but she was at the Chicago show. I took her with Mackenzie and I just with the bosses. We're going to this regional trade show to go inspire you and see how big the industry is. We took another one to Cultivate, which is the big, our big regional show. It's huge. We took another member to Columbus, Ohio for that one. Just got back from the Far West show, which is the Portland, Oregon farm. A lot of trees, shrubs, roses come from there. And I got another one next week in Dallas, Texas. So each one of those 4 had been with my daughter and I, and they've had alone time with us, so we can impart with them and share with them and teach them where we're going.
That's great.
So they've all drank the juice. They're all into it. It's exciting to watch the lights come on and go, wow, we can do this.
Well, I think involving them gives them a sense of purpose and gives them a sense of ownership. And I think that when owners, whether it's a gift, apparel, or wherever, I think that the more you invest in your employees and you include them in on decisions, not that you have to do it with all of them, but a core group of your employees, I think so many owners are like, oh, I've got it. This is what I do. And don't share the rest of the process. So, and then they wonder why their employee doesn't, like I've had people say, can you explain to me how I communicate better about, these, when we receive deliveries? Cause this came in and they thought it went with the blue ones, and I'm holding a pink pen for everybody. Like this came in and they thought it went with the blue ones. And I don't understand why it goes with the pink ones. Like, did you tell them? Why did you give them and I do storyboards for when we are doing buying, like for when I came back from the gift show, one of my stores, I did their whole Christmas thing, and I did a whole, vision of what their holiday is going to look like, including the pictures of the product. So they could share it with their employees. So when the product starts coming in, they know, oh, this is what it is. It gets them excited about it. And then when I put the display together, they understand what it is, and they understand if something new comes in, oh, this can go with this new section. All it does is make for stronger employees to include them and give them a sense of ownership, because then they take it and they really care about it.
What I love about retail, my favorite thing, is I get to come to work every day and hear people's stories, how they connect to plants and how they remember that lilac their grandmother have and how they want to help. They want to buy one too. And I get to show them the 3 different colors we have today. I get to do this for a living. It's the most awesome thing ever. And the people that come here, they got these rich stories. I got one product in the store. It's a global product. The guy that invented it, he retired to Prescott, Arizona. Yeah, that's my product. And you get to hear that story with him. I know one of my best salespeople, he actually launched, he sold Clear Channel for Asia. I think that's a radio advertising stuff for a living. He just retired here. He's the best salesperson I've ever had. And he just comes to work because it's just fun selling plants he's also a gardener and he loves the employee discount. So he's there for that. I get to hear all these different stories. If you're hiring folks that are also retailers, I think that's a natural thread within retailers. They just love people, connecting with them and hearing their stories. If you don't like that, you probably should be in the back warehouse. You should be a delivery driver, not in the front end of the retail. But if your staff is like that, and they should be if they're in the front, they want to connect with you and their customers. They want to know why you're doing. They want to figure it out. They'll be on their own. They'll be out there in their coffee break and trying to study what that product is. And so they'll be reading plant tags and going, oh, that's how big that grows. Wow, I had no idea. Or they'll show me a picture on their phone going, I saw one of these in the neighborhood. Can you believe this? So they're engaged because they're people. They like people. So you need to treat them as such. And if you do that, they become better retailers, better employees, and they'll actually take some of that burden off of you and do it themselves, because it'll be a joy for them too, just like it is for you. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I love hearing that, because it's like I've always, the employees are always your biggest pride and also your biggest nightmare sometimes. Yeah. At least, and regular retail, the everyday and the gift and the apparel, it's like, it is a different animal, and employees are definitely a little challenging, but I think as a whole, when you bring somebody under your wing, it's only going to make a stronger employee, and it's only going to help the business. So thank you for sharing that. You had said when I had met you that, and I think
it clicked to me that not everyone's putting this together, is that you had said during COVID, it was booming. It was so busy. We couldn't keep up. And it's not COVID now. And you're having to reorganize and think about back to the basics, I think, as you said, customer service. And it dawned on me today because everyone is still comparing numbers. Unfortunately, everyone is still comparing numbers to COVID numbers. And it's like,
do that.
Don't even think like,
go to 2019. That's the one to go to.
That's exactly what I say. And that's a hard pill because everyone got super used to that. But I didn't put two and two together as far as like everyone also got used to what an easy sale it was, and that you didn't have, and no one has brought up this conversation of rethinking about going back to the basics pre-COVID. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So garden centers, we were considered essential during COVID. Most of the country, not all of them, but most of us, especially in Arizona, because if you wanted to grow tomatoes, you needed us. If you wanted to grow a peach tree or for grapes or strawberries, you needed us. And so we remained open. It was scary times. We all lived, but everyone was stuck in their backyards, basically, your backyard was a safe zone back then, and they just gardened like crazy. So things exploded. 2021, nuts. 22, 23, 24, not nuts. We've had 3 years of declining, and we've slid back down to 2019, not revenue. That's the scary part. It's the unit counts or the customer count. So yes, revenue's up because everything costs more. So the average sale is higher, but you still have the same number of transactions going through as you did back then or thereabouts. That's just me and Prescott. But if you're comparing numbers to last year, most garden centers, we compete not just with box stores, we're competing with disposable dollars. So it's cruise ships, airlines, resorts. That's where you're going to spend your extra money on a plant or some color or some fragrance in the backyard. Or am I going to go to Paris, the Olympics, or that kind of stuff? And so during COVID, we didn't have to be very good. We bought it in, we chucked it on the floor. We didn't merchandise. We just threw it out there and it sold by the end of the day. And we tried to get as much as we could. We just kept cramming it in because no matter what we bought, we just said, I don't care. If it's in color, bring it. We'll just take it. And so we didn't have to sell it. We forgot how to close a sale. We forgot how to display and merchandise. We literally forgot in those 2-3 years of 20, 21, 22, because things were so good. Now we're into, I think we need to dust off the playbooks, pull them off the shelf and go, we have a merchandising book. We have a sales manual. We need to dust those off and learn how to read them again. And then present them to the new staff, because the staff that was back then, they're not here today, or most of them aren't. They've retired or whatever. And so we're really focused in on merchandising. We've hired consultants to come in and just teach us how to merchandise plants and pottery and soils and all that kind of stuff, because we forgot. We thought we were good, but you're always polishing the diamond. Mm-hmm. We're pretty good, but you can get better. I think that salesmanship, if you're selling a $300, $600, $1,000 topiary tree, it takes some salesmanship to pull that off. You've got to close the deal, ask for the sale, inspire folks and where to put it. So we forgot how to do that. So we weren't closing as many of those. We weren't selling as many. I think it's because we forgot to learn how to sell. So this coming year, we're really focused heavy on the place should sparkle, look really good. We've got new structures. We've got new lighting, new floorings going in, just the new display racks, so that it's easier to process and make things look good faster. And then we're going to dust off our sales manual. I think I'm going to have one of my best retired salespeople teach my team how to sell.
Love that.
It values them. They feel special. It gives them something to study and do, even when they're not at work. They'll think that's the greatest thing ever. And you can't think of a better sage than coming in going, yeah, I did this for my whole life. Let me show you how we used to do this in whatever they used to do. That's how I think I'm going to handle that. So that's what we're focused on for 2025, spring 2025.
When you were going through, so you had the booming business order, whatever, and you go by these reports, how hard was it to look at your reports now as the years go on and plan what is coming in?
It's a challenge. So you got to interpret. This where luckily I've been doing this for 32 years. You kind of have a gut feel for it. We have enough data to look backwards to 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, to go back to 18, 19, 20. We can look back and see how many perennials we sold back then and try to forecast. The colors might be a little different, but you're still going to sell this many echinaceas or whatever it is. And so we're pretty good at it. Retail is never exact. You're either over or you're under. You got to figure out how to get more or liquidate the others. It's never an exact science, but you're getting as close as you can. So you're making a little bit less, a few lesser mistakes. So anyway,
it's
difficult.
A little bit, because I know we're heading into our hour. Tell me a little bit about because I always ask this at the end, but I'm going to ask you now, but where do you go out and get inspiration to come back to the stores and be re-energized and want to start making some changes?
Well, you can go visit other garden centers because the top echelon is they're always at that front end. We're a mixture of fashion because it's your house, $1 million house. You need some accessories to go in front that really show it off. The house came with some landscaping, but it wasn't what she wanted or he wanted. They wanted a little bit more polish, more color, want to scoot this way, so they want to accessorize that. And so we were always in that front trying to figure it out. The color of the year next year looks like it's going to be a teal variation. So the southwestern blue colors, that's going to trend in flowers and pottery. And that's what we're seeing, we think. So, okay, how can we get products that kind of go with our earth tones we already have? And what goes with turquoise? So is that the jades and the oxblood reds, and what else goes with that? So we're looking at that kind of stuff. I love reading magazines, food and wine, travel magazines, because our customers travel a lot. And they're also reading those magazines or those blog posts. Better Homes and Garden, read that this morning.
Love that.
Those are great ones because you can get style, fashion, color. You can see what's trending. So right now, it just shifted this month to fall. We just decorate with fall, slow and steady with fall. That's the messaging going out. Well, you can match that feel they're seeing through their social media feeds pretty easily that way. And so IKEA is always good. If you want zones and how to flow, get more people to buy more stuff on a cart. There's just all kinds of places like that. So, and then I like to travel. Go where your customers are. So I just came back from Cabo. Nice high-end resort. That's where a lot of rich folks go to get away. And to attract those folks down there, you got to have high-end architecture, high-end service. You got to have high-end. You can learn a lot by that. By going to a nice hotel, you can learn a lot how to treat customers well or not well. So you can learn how to do that.
Yes.
And we share those stories with our staff going, hey, I was trying to buy a new truck. The salesperson lost it because I really wanted to buy and they wouldn't let me drive or wouldn't go out. They wouldn't let me see and I had to go to Phoenix. Can you believe they lost a sale here? I wanted my local business to go here. Why? And so you share those stories with them, or a bad meal or whatever it is. So sharing those is, I think, important to share that with your staff so they see it as well.
I love that. I'm going to ask you what the plans are going forward. What does 2025 look like for you? Because you're obviously heading into your slower time.
Yeah. So I spent the entire morning with my teams, marketing and my back office. I see this as an opportunity for retail. Retail's in a renaissance right now, I believe. I think. Boutique retail, especially, not box store. That's kind of Everyone wants more intimate. They want it more personal, especially the younger folks. And so boomers, the retired people, the folks I've been catering to, they're getting older, and they're getting so old they aren't gardening anymore. So I've got to be able to replace those folks with younger, millennial, Gen Z folks. That's a huge population of potential customers, and we're really going after them. And so they're the first-time home buyers. They may not even have a home yet. Maybe they're just apartments. Well, how can we help them garden, get started? And so I think this meshing of the brick and mortar with the digital store has got to be more seamless. So during COVID, we had to launch an online store. We had dabbled a little bit. We had to go full on, and it was clunky and not very good. And yeah, we've dusted it off, relaunched it a couple times since COVID, but it's still clunky and it's not directly tied into the store. And so we are shopping by October 1, a Shopify store. Shopify's got it. They got they've got a POS system, data tracking. They've got the shopping cart piece. That's what they're famous for, but they got so much more. They can help you with the hardware piece. I think they can help us blend these two together so that we can make it more seamless, and younger folks will love that. Older folks will accept it as long as we're there for them we can handhold them, keep them going through it. But the younger folks will really like that. That will also allow me to pre-sell a lot of products. And so a lot of folks want a peony. And I've got 500 peonies, and I'm about to run out. If you don't come in the next 2 weeks, they're all going to be gone. And they just missed it because they were on their trip to Cabo or to wherever, and they missed the window, or they were just not engaged enough to know that now's the time. Well, if you want, I think I can pre-order that 2 months ahead of time and secure that one for you. If you want it, here we'll have it waiting for you the second week in March. So I think this pre-booking it, that's the ultimate retailer's dream, especially in a boutique area. I don't have to buy it and then show it off and then maybe sell it. I can definitely sell it, get the money, and then it will be here for you. But we're also seeing that as a ticket to get to the store. Our philosophy is if you bought a rose or a fruit tree or whatever it is ahead of time, you're going to be coming for that. And while you're here, you're not just going to come in and get it. You're going to come in and get it and then shop some more. I believe if it's inspiring, it's merchandised, they're going to buy more. So we're really focused in on that this year. New POS, new shopping cart, and tying it all together and getting our marketing to promote that stuff ahead of time for us in pre-sales.
Well, I don't know if you've heard it on the podcast, but I talk about this a lot, that this generation of retailers, whether they're brick and mortar or they're only e-com, the younger generation, how they're using social media is brilliant. And one of the things that I would see at Magic, which is the big apparel show that's in Las Vegas every year, are these girls who either have brick and mortars or they're only e-com are standing in the booth. They've already picked out what they're going to order, and they've got their girl there and she's got it on and she's going live from the booth at the show. So all of her people are like, oh my God, look at it. And she's taking pre-orders on the product during the show and then turning around to the vendor and saying, I'll take 10 packs because she just sold 8 live. And if more people do that, and I would say for you, if you go live during when you're at these shows and show people that I think is what those pre-orders and getting people excited before it even gets to the store and willing to invest before it even hits the store is a lot of how I think retail is going to go. So I think that's brilliant. You're doing that.
Any retailer can do this. You do not need to be an influencer. I mean, we have some influence in our little tiny piece of the world. But we're gonna use this to. I want the box stores. I want to sell their geranium in my place. I don't want them to have it. But if I can pre-sell their poinsettia before they even have them in the store, that customer's committed to me already. And while they're here, they're also going to buy their amaryllis or their Christmas cactus or their whatever else they need while they're here. I think that's the secret to the small folks taking on the Goliath and winning the battle. I think, and we can do this. And so they're trying, but it's Walmart Depot taking on each other. And we're kind of outside the fodder. They're taking on each other. They aren't even going to see us coming. But this is set up for boutique, smaller, very focused, specialized garden centers. And if you want that special tomato that only grows, we only have it. We only have 500. Get yours now by giving me $19.99, and it'll be waiting for you Mother's Day weekend or whatever it is. So I think that is the future, I think. Anyway, that's the direction that we're going. I think we're going to really go double down on that. My entire team is all in. And you know who's really in on this? The Gen Zs. If it's technology, new software database? Sure, we can do this, boss. Let's go.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. I love this. I knew when I met you, I'm like, okay, we got to have you on the podcast. I just think there's so much. It's a totally different business, but it's retail. And you are so good at conveying the message. And thank you for sharing it with everybody here. Because I really appreciate your
I am a huge fan. I am a follower. I do actually listen in. And if I see something that's really good for my team, we'll listen to it together though. But Josh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.